You are listening to Girls, Ghosts, and Ghouls, a showcase of specters, spirits, and spooks, as well as the women who love them. Only on ZTO TV Podcasts.
Timely, topical, and terrifying.
Well, welcome to another episode of Girls Ghosts Ghouls, and we are going to discuss Sugar Hill, the 1974 horror movie, not to be confused with the Wesley Snipes drug movie that I knew nothing about. So, our producer voice, he's like, Sugar Hill, the Wesley Snipes movie? I'm like, what Wesley Snipes movie?
Yeah.
But it is. So Sugar Hill's my choice. So I love 70s movies. And as awful it sounds, blaxploitation movies are like my favorite movies of the 70s because they have some really strong female characters and a lot of just great twists on, I love the empowerment of them, even though they're also exploitive. It's very confusing. I'm working through it. But I had never heard of Sugar Hill until I had watched Horror Noir, which is a documentary on Shudder that was made in 2019. And they talk about, the history of horror and Black film stars and Black horror. And it's a great documentary. If you have not watched it, watch it. It's excellent. I highly recommend it. And they mentioned Sugar Hill. And I'm like, what's this? How did I not see this? So I immediately went out and found it streaming and watched it and then loved it so much I bought it because it's awesome.
What you do.
So a quick summary. Sugar Hill is actually Diana Hill, and her partner Langston started calling her Sugar because she looks as sweet as sugar tastes, and it's the 70s. So, and Langston owns a club, Club Haiti, and a white gangster guy wants his club, and Langston refuses to sell. So, Morgan, who is the white gangster guy, sets his cronies on him, and they beat him to death in his own parking lot. Which Sugar, who's a rather dynamic professional photographer in the fashion industry, and also grew up in an old mansion with a relative that was a mambo, Mama Matrice, is like, I will have my vengeance. She goes to see Mama Matrice, summon up Baron Samedi, and basically she sets a zombie horde on them and kills them all one by one in beautiful ways. So that is their general plot, and basically you're just looking at, it's great. So they set all this up, and all after that, it's just zombie kill of the day, and it's amazing.
It's a very straight up revenge, horror revenge flick.
Mm-hmm. With a really great, strong, powerful female lead.
Yes.
And it was Marky Bay played it, who actually was not in a lot of movies. Marky Bay was in maybe I think 5 movies and some TV stuff from 70 to 76 maybe.
Yeah, I looked up her acting history, and she wasn't in a lot of stuff.
Gorgeous woman. Oh my God.
Oh my word. I know. I think she was perfect for the role because
the way she spoke, the way she presented herself.
Yes. There were
powerful,
several times.
Sorry.
Yeah, there were several times, and this it's a factor of both the screenplay and the ability of the actor or actress to pull it off.
Right.
Is that there's so much she says, but it's what she doesn't say with those words that's important.
Yeah. Oh, and her inflection and her looks. Okay, so I gotta say, from the cast, there is just great face. I can't say it any other way. Their facial expressions.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Don Pedro Colley, who plays Baron Samedi, has the best expressions.
Oh.
His face is just, I'm staring at it fixated. I'm like, show me his face again, because he's it's the great crazy, and he oh my, it's amazing.
I love what he did with the character. I don't have enough familiarity with all things voodoo to say how well he did, but I have a little bit of familiarity. I know that he's typically portrayed, the top hat, the dark glasses, the cigar, rum, and he's, even though he's married to Mama Brigitte, he tends to stray
very frequently.
a bit of a philanderer, shall we say.
But let me put that right out there. If you are a scholar or practitioner, or if you follow the religion of voodoo, I'm pretty sure it's not very accurate. It's not horribly off though. It's just not really accurate. Let's just put it that way. But it's a 70s horror film. You can't really expect.
I actually read an article because I was curious how people felt about it, just because I was curious. And an article came out last year that was going back and revisiting it.
Nice.
In the wake of George Floyd and whatever. And they were like, honestly, probably one of the best portrayals of voodoo I've ever seen on the screen. It makes it look like an actual religion instead of making it look like a cult. Yeah, because she has an altar, she has the beautiful candles, she does chanting, but she's not like, it's not like psychotic. She's not killing a chicken, kind of that kind of thing. So they were like, honestly, probably one of the best portrayals. And with Mama, because she doesn't look like the traditional, like what you think of a voodoo priestess.
So you see Mama, she's over my corner here. She's the gray-haired woman. Was an actress, actually, she played, it's Zara Colley, and she played Mama Jefferson on the Jeffersons in the 70s. It was one of her acting credits. Sorry, Betsy, go on, please.
But no, so basically what they were saying was, as far as those portrayals go, this is probably one of the best ones. The worst was the beginning of the film when it was in the club.
The Club Haiti, they have a reenactment of a voodoo
ritual. And that was horrible. But this
as entertainment at the club. It was that involved chickens and people screaming and blood being
Well, one of the things that they mentioned was it really showed that one was obviously for the white audience, for tourists.
Yes.
And then this was the real one for the real people. And I loved that. I was like, oh, okay. Awesome. But yeah, as far as that goes, from my understanding, not the worst representation of the religion that's ever been on screen.
True, because it doesn't try to portray it as evil or what have you. It's very merely that there is a cost for everything that you do. So it's you want to do
but
this,
you got to admire Sugar because she paid off that cost with the white girl.
A horribly racist white girl.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was very appropriate.
I do definitely want to say, like, for anybody watching this, do be prepared for the
prolific use of the N-word
and prolific racism throughout the film. And part of me in a way is like, oh my Lord, but I logically know there were times and still are places where it is just that bad still.
Yeah, they put forth the white racist, and so, and I must say I admire how they handled the white racists, I should say.
Yeah.
My one thing I had about the voodoo that I was a little like, so they do at one point, Valentine, who's a police officer assigned to the case, who starts, first he's looking into Langston's murder. That was Sugar Hill's man who got killed and beaten in the parking lot. Then he's following up the murders that subsequently happen once Sugar Hill starts exacting her revenge. And he sees a tie into voodoo, who he believes there might be. And he goes and sees a voodoo expert at the voodoo museum. And the voodoo expert is an old white guy.
Yeah.
Very distinguished professor and stuff. I'm like, that's
lame.
That's your voodoo expert.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it was supposed to be in Louisiana, New Orleans. So I'm like, that's, I mean, okay.
Yeah, I think if they were going to go all the way, it would have been better to recast that one with a Black professor. But owing to, again, the time where this was made, I would say that's an example of like racism in the film industry.
No. And also, so really, when to add a grain of salt to that, that was like one of 3 white people, 5 white people in the cast.
True.
And the other ones were all just the bad guy gangsters. So, I mean, it was written by a white playwright, and it was, produced and directed by white people, which, by the way, the producer, Manislawski, I believe his name was, is known for Police Academy, amongst other movies.
Oh my.
So
From
I have
Sugar
to say
Hill
Sugar Hill is
Police
far better
Academy.
than some of the other stuff he's done.
That's for sure. That's kind of taking a low bar.
He did other stuff too. He did other movies. I think Black Disc. I think he might have done Scream, Blackula Scream as well. So he was very well known. The guy who played Valentine, Richard Lawson, was a very prolific actor. He still is actually. And he was in a lot of movies and TV series throughout the 70s, 80s, 90s, and I think even now.
I think I'm gonna have to look him up. He seemed really familiar.
Yeah. Now, what really got me, I don't know if you guys got this, but when you were hearing Fabulous speak and seeing his face, where you're like, I know that voice, I know that face. He was Mac from Night Court.
I recognized him literally.
What?
Yes.
Which
and I was
one?
like, who is that? The beard threw me off. As soon as like I saw it, because it covers the whole lower half of his face, so you only really see from here up, and that's where you kind of see Mac.
Which character?
Mac, the clerk of courts.
Oh no, I know the Mac character. I'm talking the character in Sugar Hill.
Fabulous.
The only black
gangster in Morgan's Gang.
Oh,
his name is Fabulous. Sorry, I'm.
Holy fuck balls!
Which
I didn't realize that.
Betsy and
I
I were
have
talking.
to go back and watch it again.
Fabulous has the most amazing 70s outfits that he totally pulls off. It is mind blowing because there should be terrible outfits, but he just looks fucking superb in them.
Even the one where he's wearing the hat over his afro, so the hat doesn't actually fit his head because it's like basically the afro is wearing a hat. The best. I'm like, I don't care. I love you. You can do no wrong by me. I know you're the bad guy. Don't care.
Yeah.
Love you.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. I was just saying that, I enjoyed with the film waiting to see like who got what in terms of
how the
modes of revenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna battle on about fashion a little bit more, and then
Excellent.
I thought we would go death by death.
Yeah,
but
that sounds good.
So also Sugar's outfits, fabulous, except for that first one, that green dress I was not about, but I love how she had the kill jumpsuit, the white with the red, that every time she was executing somebody, she had
that one on. See, I actually liked the green dress and the head wrap that she had.
The head wrap I was for. It just, the color green didn't sit well with me personally, because I just don't like that color green. And the cut of it I think it's because all the other outfits were so much better that one just fell flat for me.
Yeah.
Could be. And I think it was because she was trying to be like professional, because she was in her, boyfriend's club, and so she's like, on appearances. Yeah, some of her other outfits though were so good. So many vests that were so low cut.
And the
bell
bottoms.
Wear a vest in my entire life. I wouldn't look like that in it.
No, she. And another person. I mean, so pretty much the whole cast is just pretty nostalgic 80s, 70s. That go look them up and you'd be like, oh my god, that guy. But Robert Corey, who played the white gangster Morgan, actually has a big history in the 70s horror films and beyond. Actually, Count Yorba, I think it was, he played, which was a vampire character.
Yeah, I haven't seen the movie, but I'm familiar with the.
I'm not super familiar. I know, like late night TV, I watched it at one point. He's all over the place, like Dr. Phibbs Rises Again, Count Yorga Vampire, the Return of Count Yorga. I mean, he was pretty much kind of like not exactly Hammer films, but like that kind of genre.
Yeah,
horror star. So he was pretty well known for that. But okay, I promise we're going to talk about the death. So pretty much, Mama Matrice, she summons up Baron Samedi for Sugar. Sugar's like, all right, I want the power to strike down my enemies one by one. And, what do you want for her? Which this was one part kind of confused me, because he's like, what will you give me for this power? And she's like, my soul. He's like, I want nothing to do with souls. And I think he was implying I want your body, but it never really, it just seems, this is one place where it falls flat. It just kind of seems open-ended, like, and you want what instead?
Yeah. They never really closed that little plot
was
loop,
the only way you really know what they were bargaining for is because what she gives him in the end,
Yeah.
But anyway,
leaving it open just in case,
negotiate. But so he's like, oh, here is the zombie army, and of course the zombie army. So it's in a swamp. They throw the history in there that the swamp is where they threw the slaves that didn't make it in the crossing. So died of fever, got sick. They just threw their bodies in the swamp. And so Baron Samedi, of course, raises them up. And I love it because Baron Samedi also gets hands on. He's like, yes, let's do this. So
Yeah, he's very invested in the whole process.
yeah, everyone and gives such great face. I'm
I
telling you guys, just look
know.
up images of Baron Somni, Sugar Hill, and you will not be disappointed at the faces you see in the images. Just the faces this guy makes is just perfect. It's so good.
Which I didn't go into his background, which makes me wonder, like, if he had done theater as well, because theater also relies on a lot of facial expressions and gestures and such.
You know, he may have. I didn't really look in that part of it. I just looked at, like, you know, what kind of movies he did, and he extremely prolific up until his death, basically. So I wouldn't. I think you're right. I wouldn't be surprised if he had a background. I mean, he was in Planet of the Apes. He was in Piranha. He was in, you know, just so much stuff. Really prolific actor. But so Death won. So she starts with Morgan's cronies one by one, and you'll forgive me if I don't remember all their names because
I don't remember their names. When I took notes, I literally wrote it down as flunky number 1, flunky number 2.
I love it. So
my husband said, I got to be honest, it was really hard to keep track of the white guys.
They all look alike.
It's also kind of true.
The white girls too. So there's 2 in the movie. One is a very minor character. One is the race is Celeste, and the other is just like a massage parlor owner. But for the first, like, every time I watch it, same thing happens. At first, I think she's talking to Celeste again, but it's not. It's completely different actors. But I'm like, oh, okay, that's somebody different.
Honestly, I thought it was Celeste putting on a voice. So thank you for telling me that. I did not recognize it as being a different white woman.
Completely different white woman. Yeah. You know.
Good
so. Flunky number 1 on the docks, basically bullying people that want work, that if they want their crews to work unloading or whatever on the docks, they have to pay him, obviously pay Morgan really, but for the privilege of having a job. So you get to see a little more of his lovely character with that. And then you see Baron Somni in his lovely face. And
you know shit's about to go down.
And Flunky number 1 walks back into, like, you know, the storage area, and Sugar Hill calls him out, and looking back, I call it the white Elvis jumpsuit, but Elvis never looked so good, and it's a much less gaudy jumpsuit than Elvis ever wore.
Yes.
But like I said, it's her kill suit. Anytime she's going to do kill, she's in that outfit, which might be just it was low budget and they just filmed all the scenes where she kills.
That would be my guess. This was another American International picture, same one that did Mask of the Red Death. So I'm guessing this fell along the lines of churn it out quick and just
churn it out cheap.
Yep.
So basically, this is the most dull kill, shall we say. You know, the zombies come out. Well, basically, she says, I'm here to pass judgment. He's like, I'm going to kick your ass. But of course, they got to compliment her looks. You got to love that. Every gangster face, like, yeah, you're hot. But I'm still going to beat you up, and then, you know, call her a racial slur or, you know, a bitch or whatever, you know. So he basically gets grabbed by the zombies and has his head chopped off with a machete. So very quick death.
Really straightforward, yeah.
And I think it's because
just feeling a groove, getting into it.
I was going to say, I also don't think he was one of the ones in the bar. So I'm guessing he's like loosely associated. So he may have helped beat him to death, but I don't think he was one of the main flunkies.
Yeah, because there was like 4 that beat the guy, and then like there was like 5 or 6 deaths.
Yeah, so I think we had extra guys, but
because
which was fine. Because
there was one of them that said, "Oh, I wasn't there."
She's like, "I don't care."
I think you're right.
Yeah.
We'll get
so
to that.
I think that his was swift and easy because he wasn't actually like directly involved with the death.
Just could have been,
and also she probably has to find her groove.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just getting started. What can the zombies do? How creative can it? Let me talk. Because I mean, it was pointed out by Mama Marquez that Sugar Hill was not really a practitioner of voodoo or a believer.
Yeah.
So, you know, she might be consulting and figuring out what else she could do. You know, who knows? She's working on it, right? Which, guys, keep me honest because I'm starting to lose the order. But death number 2, was that the pick car?
Well, I also have a couple things like
please,
that I want to mention, like the in between the death and whatnot. Because later on, Sugar's talking to Morgan. This cycles back to our other point that she was such a good actor with her expressions. When she's smiling at him, like, that's not a smile. That's a baring of teeth to rip out your throat smile.
That's that smile that many of us women give when we are hiding the fact that we are going to hurt them.
Yeah.
But most men do not realize that because we're smiling.
It's along the lines of if you hear like slight laughter before that and then that smile, just leave. You should just go run.
Which is a good point to make up in general. So like during this period, Morgan finds, well, she tells him because he doesn't know what's going on at the club after he murders the guy who owns it. So he has a interview with her, shall we say, and which she reveals that Langston, her boyfriend, left the club to her. And so now she's interacting with Morgan, who has no idea that she's, going to kill off all his men and him one by one. And he's low-key threatening her about,
Oh, yeah. It's the subtext is very clear.
Yeah. You want to sell me the club because, even prosperous clubs, businesses, experienced people know how they can go bad, so. And then, of course, we get the nice little racist Celeste.
Oh, yeah.
Coming in at that point, too.
Whatever she is.
But first of all, let's talk about the white trash hoe, because that's what she is.
Pretty much. Yeah.
No respect for herself whatsoever. This guy treats her like trash.
I wrote down one of the lines that he says to her because it like hit so hard. I was like, oh my God. Because he basically says that Sugar is classy. And she's like,
which Sugar is classy.
And he says, Celeste, everybody knows
what you are. I wrote down the same line. I have it right here.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, my heart. That hurt me. And I'm not even Celeste.
Yeah, I was like, oh, snap.
Yeah, but no, she hangs in there anyway. And then we should also mention the lovely cat fight that ensues shortly after that.
Oh, yeah.
That would have some great lines too.
Oh, yeah. When Celeste calls Sugar uppity, and she's like, when I'm talking to you, it's nothing but down.
Yeah. I was like, girl.
Yeah, when she said that line, my eyes got big. I'm like, oh, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I like how the bartender in the background is like, it's just whatevs. He's just
Sugar can handle it. That girl was stupid.
He's just watching the slap fight that starts.
Now, to be fair, Celeste gets a good few hits in, but Sugar dominates.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Big time.
So, yeah, Celeste gets knocked down to the ground, bucket of ice thrown on her, and that's it. But like I said, so, yeah, good to point out. And also in between, you also see Sugar doing her job, which she's a professional fashion photographer is what it looks like. And, yeah. Which is one of the things I loved about the movie, which it was a strong professional female who could handle her shit,
she very clearly had her own hustle going on.
Yeah. Which is funny because you have a lot of that in the 70s and 80s, the early 80s, and then it starts fading away in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah. I noticed that.
All these, and like across, just all the female actresses, parts just seem to be whimpering romantics that need to be saved, and
even if they are strong women, somehow in the end they end up giving up their whatever because of a man, and you're like, no, I don't want this for you. You don't want this for you. Come on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like even if they don't give it up, there has to be a man in there for support, kind of thing. And not that this doesn't also sort of have a love interest there of a man, but still, it's just I just, we lost a lot of that after mid-80s, I'd say. I
think it's very clear with her like little romantic connection to her previous ex-boyfriend that she is fairly firmly in control of that situation.
Oh, yeah. He's not come save the day or anything like that. He's just there and almost in her way, and she deals with it. And he's lucky how she deals with it.
I was going to say, very lucky, because
Baron Somni was like,
up to the Baron.
Killing's easy, not a problem. She's like, no, you can't kill
him. And he's like, oh,
fine. I'm just gonna maim him a lot. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, kill number 2. Like I said, I think that was the pig farm. Am I right in thinking that?
Yes. Yeah. Because in my notes I have death by pig.
Okay, pig farm. So, which is kind of good because it highlights Baron Somni again, totally just playing up to the white racist.
Mm-hmm. That is one of my favorite things, was him being like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing here. I just was asked to bring you. And I'm like, that's horribly racist. And also, like, he's making a point here. Like, I know I can lure you out here by pretending to be this thing.
Very much so.
Yeah. Like, even like basically singing Zippity Doodah in the cab, you know, I mean, like he's totally just playing on the Uncle Tom kind of persona because he knows this white guy is just going to fall for it completely.
Oh yeah.
Not even think about it and not see him as a threat or anything.
He's very much enjoying their complete lack of perception about who he is and just their underestimation of whoever may be in front of them.
Absolutely.
If they're a person of color.
Which is funny because so is Sugar Hill, which is, well, yes and no, because honestly, the bad guys give a lot more respect to Sugar than they do to Baron Samedi. Which,
true. I think that plays in
on their ignorance and on Sugar's persona. You know, like the character is supposed to have been known for being, like, I think he referred to her as dynamite or firecrackers, what Langston referred to her as at the beginning.
Yeah. And,
you know, the actress dominates the scene that way. Like, you know, it's an imposing woman. She just, but yeah, so I'm sorry, I digress. Baron Samedi lures Flunky number two out in the fields to, you know, a pig farm or a pig pen, basically. Mentions the fact that the pigs hadn't eaten in weeks. And of course, Flunky number 2 is like, we'll feed them. And she's like, okay.
Sure.
My intent. And zombies just kick him over into the pig pen and he gets ate. And I love it because she goes, I hope they like white trash.
That was one of my favorite lines. Also, something subtle in this scene that I loved was that when he's taking him through the field, the scarecrow has on Baron's clothes.
Zombies' clothes. I forgot about a good point. Yes.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is subtle and I love it. Like, you're like, this is a bad path. If we didn't know already that he was taking him on a bad path, which we did.
Oh yeah.
We know it's a bad path because he gave us a little sign.
Yeah, I have to admit, for what I'm sure was quite a low budget horror film, they did a nice job with the extra little touches that went in, like the clothes on the scarecrow.
Yes. Like, they don't have to do that. We weren't asking for that. It was a good movie anyway. But then there's those little things in the background and little things happening that you're like, oh.
Details, little touches.
Mm-hmm.
Now again, I said, I'm losing track real quick. Flunky number 3. That was the first bar where the pool hall, right, where she goes and lures him out by thinking that she wants him.
Yeah, that was the pool hall one.
Which, man, I'm like, I give her so much props because I probably would have just hit him with the pool cue. I mean, you can't get, what was it said, like, you guys girls can't resist the white something, and
I'm like,
and this is an ugly white guy.
Oh, no kidding. It's like, oh honey, your dick is
I think anybody could resist that, especially somebody who is amazing looking as this, it was Diana Hill. I'm sorry, Sugar real name was Diana, so if I refer to her as that, please follow along.
Yeah, she would definitely be slumming if she took up with that.
But she lures him out, and he comes to her apartment and sees the setup, and it's making him uncomfortable. And here's the other thing that bothers me. There's like, 2 or 3 men that get a slap on her, and she never hits them back. I'm like, oh, God.
Yeah.
You're going to kill him anyway. Slamp them back one. I mean, they die anyway, but, you know.
I mean, I guess she's waiting instead for the actual death. Yeah.
I guess, but I still would have at least maybe kicked him in the dick or something.
Yeah.
But
that's the part we're not seeing after it fades away, is her just like smack, 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 smack.
She's stomping on the corpse when we're not looking.
Now this death, so the first 2 deaths, not all that voodoo. You know, I'm sorry, I shouldn't use the term voodoo, but it's not all that supernatural, shall we say. I mean, it is using zombies, but we're just looking at a head being chopped off in death number 1. We're looking at being thrown to the pigs in death number 2. This one, they sit his ass down with a little like pop-it doll in the middle and the, you know, sands of time thing lighting up, and she basically tells him ritual killing, shall we say, that once the flames hit the little doll in the middle, that he will cut his own throat, if I recall correctly.
Yes. It's you know, when the flames reach the doll, you'll kill yourself. I don't think she specifies, but
kill yourself, cut throat. I remember cut throat, but like I said, my details are fuzzy.
I could entirely
watch the movie 6 times this week, and for some reason I don't.
I only watched it yesterday night. So. Yep.
Fine.
But yeah, so he does kill himself. The flames reach him. Another dead one.
Yeah.
Of course, though, we should be noting that Morgan, the gangster, is of course freaking out that his men are dying and trying to figure out what is happening, but isn't. And meanwhile, keeps trying to negotiate with Sugar to get this club.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So this is still happening in the background.
She's still playing him along. Yeah, she's still stringing him along, thinking that she's happy to sell.
Which actually brings us to death number 4, because I think, it's like, again, keep me honest, because I think this is the one where the guy brings her the $10,000 and she sticks him in the coffin. Or is this the bar one where they go and break poor preacher's fingers?
I think this is. I do not believe this is the one with the money. I think the one with the money is next.
Okay, so this must be the one where he's sending his flunkies out to go find out who is killing his men. Yes. So one of them shows up at a bar where there is this very talented pianist and singer called Preacher that he starts basically haranguing and breaks his fingers, I would assume, with the piano lid, saying, "Tell me what's going on." And this is like one of my favorite scenes, because you have Baron Samedi behind the bar. And, after he beats on this guy a little bit, he goes over to the bartender, who's Baron Samedi, and goes, "You didn't see nothing." And Baron Samedi's like, "No, I didn't see anything. In fact, let me make you a drink on the house. I'm famous for it." And he goes, "It's a zombie," which, by the way, is what I'm imbibing tonight.
Yeah, that was a great line.
I had all the rums, but I had none of the juices for a zombie. So
same. I would have had to make a run to the store, and I did not have the spoons for that one.
Yeah, I had pineapple juice left over, that I hadn't used for a virtual Pleasures of the Cup event. So I had all the rums I could possibly need, pineapple juice, which you can do orange juice or whatever in case you need to know about zombies. I had grenadine, I had lime juice. I'm like, I made an extremely strong zombie though, so if my voice gets more and more slurred throughout the recording, my apologies, but enjoy. Sorry, so we're in the bar. He refuses the zombie from Baron Samedi, which is just, you could have had yourself a good last tasty drink made by Baron Samedi himself. And he refuses.
Yeah, that doesn't happen every day, No.
And here we have another really good ritual. So actually he looks over after he refuses the drink and he sees 2 zombies that are people as opposed to the drink at the end of the bar and realizes he's in trouble now. And then,
shit, I'm fucked.
Yeah, and then Sugar pops up, and again, another ritual doll. The zombies basically pin him to the wall with a couple machetes, and then she slashes a little doll, and he gets basically cut to death.
Yep.
Very nice death scene.
Yeah, and
not gory though. I'd have to just point this out. If you like gory blood splatter, you're not really going to see that. That's not in this.
There's not a lot of that in this film.
Which I'm kind of a fan of the gore and splatter. This movie didn't need it. I feel it might have enhanced it a little bit if they had a little bit of it, but it was okay without it, just so you know.
Yeah.
But don't expect it.
Yeah, and this is when her cop buddy is really starting to put everything together, because that's when he visits Mama Matrice's house, mansion, whatever it is.
Yeah, let's talk about that real quick. So he's getting suspicious because there's 1860s slave manacles that are being found. There's dead cells, from dead people and mold being found on the bodies, which sends him first to the Voodoo Museum to do some preliminary research. And he goes again.
Which means you should listen to your scientists.
Because they'll let you know when it's a zombie outbreak.
Yes.
In case you didn't know, Rebecca is a scientist. So if you need to know if we're about to have a zombie outbreak, message Girls Ghosts Ghouls and be like, "Hey, Rebecca, we in danger yet, girl?"
Yeah, if you don't get a response, that means I've already bugged out, and y'all should run for the hills.
Back your 72-hour kit and run. But at any rate, so he goes back and is like, is there any, voodoo priestesses or whatever, in the area, or were there ever? And he's like, "Oh yeah, Mama Matrice, she was down the road, basically." He's like, "Oh, when she died?" She's like, "Oh." He's like, "No, she's not dead. She's, I always met her at this crossroads." And he says where, and Valentine's like, "Shit, that's Sugar's house."
Hey, wait a minute. And he already is starting to. I mean, obviously from the beginning, the cop is like, "Do you have something to do with this?"
Yeah, he's
Because she had
suspicious of Sugar.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's
Because she
logical.
flat out told him she wanted
Yes.
to see them all die
Yeah.
one by one.
Yeah, yeah. She told him. She told him what was going to happen, and he's like,
Well,
"Oh,
prior
honey."
to the murder
Yeah.
starting to happen, clear. So it wasn't like they were
Yes.
happening. She's like, no, I want to see them die. She was like, it was prior to the actual
Yes.
executions of any of them. But
Yeah.
so he hightails it out there to go see Mama Matress. And of course, ironically, there's Sugar and there's Baron Somdi as old Sam, the groundskeeper
The
now.
gardener.
Yeah.
That I think was one of my favorite portrayals that he chose, because you see him walk up with the pruning blade,
And he's
you're
looking
like,
intimidating as fuck. Like,
yes, and you're like, oh, is somebody gonna lose their head?
again, great face. Just great expressions. And he's like, here, I'll lead you to Mama Matress. And of course, Mama Matress shows up. And I love it because the scene's so brief. She just grabs Valentine's face, is like, he's not a believer, and then walks away.
Yeah, that's the I'm done with you. Well, talk to the hand.
And he goes if he's going to follow. And like, Baron Somdi's like, yeah, no, don't follow Mama Matress into the woods or into the swamp. And you're not going to see her again unless she wants to see you.
Yeah, you leave the priestess alone.
Yeah. Which actually, this whole scene is what eventually leads to him getting his leg broke.
Yeah. Sure
Which was basically executed by Baron Somdi and Mama Matress, because I think Mama Matress took the doll. It's like, yeah. But anyway, so now we're on death number
5.
5. Sorry.
Yep. He was the guy who was delivering the money.
Okay. So before we get to 5, we have a visit by Morgan and Fabulous, wearing yet another amazing outfit, to Sugar Hill while she's working, to hand her the papers for the club, because she tells Morgan that she will sell it. And she looks at the papers, and clearly there's an insulting amount that he's paying her for this club, which she calls him out on. And he's like, yeah, but gets off your hands and everybody's happy. And she's like, okay, but if I'm going to accept this deal, you're going to give me like some extra cash on the side that the tax man's not going to see. And then I'll be amicable to this trash deal. And so she gets him to come, she suggests 10 grand. He accepts it. They banter a little. And he then sends Funky number 5 to go and give the 10 grand to her. He shows up. Was it her? Yeah, it was her apartment, I believe, right?
Unfortunately, I did not write it down. I don't.
Location doesn't matter that much.
Yeah, that's true. It really doesn't. It's immaterial.
It might have been the
club
itself. They might have.
That's what I thought it was.
That would make more sense. I think he shows up at Club Haiti to give her the money, and of course, it's filled with zombies. They come at him. He's already like, I'm gonna die. He's afraid. He's like, This is one who claimed he had nothing to do with the death.
Yeah, he was one of those.
That he wasn't there or anything. And she's like,
don't care. You're one of his guys. That makes you guilty.
And he's like, but here's 10 grand. Here's 10 grand. She's like, oh, you think money solves everything? Now, you got to give Sugar her props, because my ass would have taken the 10 grand and killed the motherfucker. She did not care about money.
Same.
But I'd be like, no, 10 grand's 10 grand.
Especially in the 1970s. Whew.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I haven't checked inflation, but, it gets a significant amount. And, I mean, I'd be happy with 10 grand now, but 10 grand almost means nothing now compared to what it meant then,
Yeah.
But so basically the zombies throw him in a coffin full of snakes, and she's like, take the money with you, and they seal him in. But they weren't very dangerous looking snakes. They
looked like all constrictors.
Yeah.
That is exactly what I said. I was like, and if you're a snake person, you'll know that that's an entire coffin full of boas and pythons. It's completely harmless. But I'm gonna whatever.
I mean, they could still strangle him. They might get hungry in there. I mean,
it could happen. You just don't know.
Jenny, maybe they're like Mocha.
Yeah, I mean, if it's with Mocha, you're not going to die at all.
Yeah.
Mocha is my rosy boa, and if you don't know what a rosy boa is, look it up, and you'll be amused at how harmless a rosy boa would be to anything but maybe the babyest of mice. She's a baby, but he's a cute snake. At any rate,
pretty.
So they nail him in the coffin. The implication is probably they threw the coffin in the swamp somewhere, between the snakes, possibly strangling him and swallowing him.
I took
More
that
likely
as
just
like
suffocated in the swamp.
yeah, I took that as a sort of a buried alive thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the assumption I made too. Like, I don't think they intended the snakes to kill him. I think they intended the snakes to intimidate and make his last hours dying with no air even more miserable. So I would have been happy for the snakes because they're cuddly. If I was going to die,
They certainly
I can't die warm.
No, plus the snakes might break out of the coffin and help you. You don't know.
You just don't know.
They could be buddies, snake buddies.
That's a buddy cop movie I'd watch.
So now it's worth noting that at this point, Sugar does show back up to Morgan and be like, your dude never showed up with the money.
Yeah.
What happened here? Oh, we skipped a death. The chicken foot death. I think that was before the 10,000.
I think. Yeah. I was that one wrapped up in the death by voodoo doll? I'm not sure. No, I could be.
It was different. There was the death by the fire thing, and then there was the chicken foot death, which I can't remember how they killed him at the end.
He is, I think, the last flunky to go.
Okay, so that was the last.
Because I have dead strangled by zombies.
No, that's Fabulous. Fabulous
You're
was
right.
strangled by zombies.
You're right.
So I'm sorry. At some point, either after this or right before this, she lures another one in, and I can't, like, I was so obsessed with the random chicken foot attacking him that I don't remember how he died. It might actually have been one of the other deaths that this was the beginning of.
I was going to say, I think it was one of the other guys. My husband is saying it's the guy with the money.
You think that was the beginning of the death? See, I don't remember that. I thought there was a separate death. There was the ritual doll where he killed himself. There was the chicken foot, and I think that was another one where he was cut or something. After the whole trauma with the chicken foot crawling up on him and him stomping on it. But you're right. I mean, I guess, I'm sorry, listeners. More reason for you to watch the movie so you can figure out what happened with the chicken foot scene. Basically, there's a chicken's foot that is animated walking around. I think this one is her apartment. I think she did 2 kills in her apartment, if I'm remembering correctly. And it crawls up the guy, and the guy at first is helpless to stop the chicken foot from crawling on him, and eventually he can tear the chicken foot off of him, and he stomps it.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I don't remember how she kills him. I think it might have just been more zombies tearing him up, but
I think that was another death by voodoo doll, or another ritual. I think that was a ritual killing, using the ritual to kill him.
So it was something along those lines, and I apologize. I just, like I said, I was very fixated on the bizarre chicken foot thing because they made that chicken foot seem so terrifying, and I don't know that I would have been terrified by the chicken foot. I think I would have been more like disgusted, like you, chicken foot.
Yeah.
Even if I knew that I was going to die, because it was just a chicken foot. I mean, like, an animated chicken foot, fair enough, but I still kind of. It's like if Chucky came out, it's still a doll. Hunt and run, man, you know.
Yes. Yeah. Go for the field goal.
But anyway, so there was that death, or possibly preamble to one of the deaths we already discussed.
Yeah.
Look it up, watch the movie, write us and be like, weren't you paying attention?
I can't find it.
But meanwhile, we get to our final death of the flunkies, to be clear. And that's Fabulous. And Fabulous apparently has a Thursday appointment at a massage parlor.
I'm assuming it's a happy ending massage parlor.
Well, because I would say, I mean, it was the 70s, and a lot of people just dressed like, 70s, but it looked very much like the Madam of the Whorehouse kind of look.
Yeah.
And then again, it's a woman who looks strikingly similar to Celeste, the gangster's whore, and it always takes me a minute to be, that's a different character. And basically, so this is sloppy in my opinion, because she pays this woman to basically bug out of the salon so they can murder Fabulous. But of course, she tells the woman to play a practical joke. But I mean, now she's clearly tied to the scene. So I'm assuming they just did away with the body completely. But still, like, somebody's like, where's the last place Fabulous was seen? Oh, it was here. And this woman paid me $120 to play a joke on him.
Yeah.
very dangerous tie in there, unless you're going to kill her off too, I guess, which, whatever. But I'm just saying that if you're going to commit these kind of murders and you have Baron Somni on your side, you can cover your tracks better than this, is just my opinion. But meanwhile, so they pay so that they can basically, get to Fabulous and, put a fun death on him. And Fabulous shows up at the massage parlor, and there's Baron Somni at the desk. So, Fabulous is already kind of aware something's off here. He's like,
this is weird.
You're not going to give me a massage, are you? Baron Somni's like, no. She is. And here's the other thing that I thought was flawed. Because this guy who's coming in to get a massage from, a woman that he thinks is sexy is going to look at the woman who's going to massage him.
Yeah.
And of course.
And wouldn't he recognize her voice?
Recognize her voice, recognize her, but he never looks at her, which I'm like, I'm going to call bullshit on that. I'm like, this is one that's kind of bothersome to me. There's no way that man did not go and look to see who was going to be touching him. Because that was the whole point about why he was there.
Yeah.
So, but he doesn't. He keeps his face down. He does not recognize Sugar's voice, though she does kind of play up on an accent.
She did. She kind of
goes deeper southern.
Southified it. Yeah, she southified her voice. So she was like, "Hey, Sugar."
Yeah, it wasn't a very good job of altering her voice, in my opinion. But
not particularly. I didn't notice much of a difference.
Yeah. But anyway,
I also don't think she was trying very hard because she kind of wanted him to recognize her voice.
I mean, let's face it, if he figured out who she was when he wasn't going to get away, I'm just saying the whole premise was it shouldn't have gotten to the point of the zombie massage before he realized he was in trouble. But I'm jumping ahead. So she starts giving him a massage, and then he's like, yeah, that's nice. And she's like, it's a slow night. How about if I bring in some other girls and we do a group rate and we all work on you? He's like, okay, sounds good to me. So, she pretends to walk out the door, she shuts it, and then actually I believe it's Baron Somni's brides that come in to give him the massage. And so again, not accuracy here. When I'm saying Baron Somni's brides, it's because earlier when Sugar first gets introduced to Baron Somni, there's was it 3 female zombies that are basically in wedding dresses that are introduced as Baron Somni's brides. So that is the reference there.
Yeah.
Who start to massage Fabulous's back.
And he's like,
I'm like, this is a brilliant idea. We need to open a zombie massage parlor. This is just genius. People who pay for it. I'm just saying.
There are people who will love
like,
it.
No, I mean, so and the zombies start.
People.
Yeah, I'm thinking there would be a great niche thing that people would be like, yeah, I want to get scratched by zombie massages. But yeah, so the bride just start clawing at his back, and Fabulous is like, oh, that's hurt. Your hands are cold. I don't like this. And they're clawing at him. And he finally turns around. He's like, zombies, and they strangle him. So it's not the most exciting death, but it is the funniest death in my opinion.
I think I would have to agree.
Because it's like he makes no effort to save himself.
No, he's just pretty much
honestly, I think
flipping out.
You're naked on a table and you're being scratched and strangled by zombies. You may not, the shock might be enough to do you in.
You're not going to respond well to the best of your abilities. It's the fight, flight, or freeze. Yeah, he froze. Which, let's face it, you're not really expecting zombies to walk in on your massage session.
So if he survived, you could be like, I got massaged by
a zombie.
But he was not going to survive.
No.
Fabulous is dead. We have no more amazing outfits from him, which is sad. And that leaves us now with Morgan and Celeste. So,
the 2 piece de resistance of the film.
Mm-hmm. So Sugar basically calls up Morgan and says, you know what? I ain't selling you the club. Fuck you. And Morgan's like, oh, no, you're not. Where are you at? And this should have been freaking clue. Actually, he doesn't say where you're at first. He says, stay at your apartment. I'm coming to you. And she's like, I'm not there. He's like, where are you? And she tells him. Now, any person with a half of her head would be like, this is a trap. Else she wouldn't
have. Am I being set up? Yeah.
Like, I've just threatened you. You said, come and get me. Could something bad be in the works?
The problem is he is misogynistic and racist enough to believe that she can't hurt him.
Yeah, right. Yep. He's not viewing her as a threat at all, obviously.
No,
But still,
she's an object to him.
it's still funny to me. I'm like, something in your brain should have been like, even if she's not a threat, some shit's coming.
Oh yeah.
Danger.
But meanwhile, I mean, let's put it this way. If he doesn't view her directly as a threat, he knows all his people have disappeared. So good chance there's a tie-in here. And if
The
she
fact that
herself
he
is not a
never
threat, she
even
might know people who have been
remotely-
doing this for her.
That's the fact that he never even like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, he doesn't see her as a threat, but he never even was like, have you hired somebody to
Yeah.
do this?
Like he threatens her at one point when she had gone to talk to him about the club, where he grabs her and
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's after she claims not to have gotten the 10,000.
that was
It
between
was.
that was between flunky number 5 and flunky number 6.
So
Yeah,
that, I
so that
think
was
that
after the
10,000.
10,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that was that scene. Yeah, it's another opportunity where she could have kicked him or something because he didn't hit her. He shoved her. He like grabbed her
He
leg,
grabbed her by the
and
throat.
shoved her. Yeah.
Yeah, he grabbed her by the throat.
Anyway, so
Which truly then he it's not that he doesn't seem to be connecting her to the deaths of his flunkies.
no,
he
he's just
merely-
threatening her about
The money in the club.
yeah. So he grabs Celeste, who, for what reason you bring your hoe is back up, I don't know, because she didn't look like she'd be any use.
Nope.
To go to this house out by the swamp to take care of Sugar. And it's funny, they get to the house, and here we see that Celeste is not completely brainless. Because
She's
he
like,
gets out
fuck
of the
you, I'm
car.
staying in the car.
Yeah, he gets out of the car. He's like, you coming? She's like, there? No, I'm not. Now she does become slightly brainless after that, because I think he left the keys in the car and she didn't go take off when the zombie showed up. I'm jumping ahead. So
Even a hoe can have some self-preservation.
so she had a little. She was like, I'm staying in the car. You go do your thing in the creepy house on the swamp. Yeah, no. And of course he goes in and he's, yelling names and threatening Sugar. And he's walking around this creepy house, which, by the way, nobody has kept up at all, which is sad.
I know.
I'm like, dude, you have a big house, like / mansion. You should keep it nice.
But I guess for ambiance, they kept it creaky and
Yes.
cobwebby and dirty
Yeah.
and run down. But so he's going through the house, going up the stairs, down the stairs, trying to find it, and the zombies appear. And he's like, oh shit. And of course he's got a 6-shooter and he's shooting at zombies. And we come to this nice little zombie table scene where basically there's Sugar and there's Baron Zombie, and then sitting at the table are all Morgan's dead flunkies.
I liked that shot. That was
It was
interesting.
nice. It was like,
Yeah.
hey, here's your family Thanksgiving
Here's
dinner.
your crew.
All here for you. And they're all kind of smiling at him in their zombie smiles. And so, of course, Morgan is now thoroughly creeped out and runs shooting from the house towards Celeste in the car. But of course, at this point, the car and Celeste are surrounded by zombies who are breaking through and yank Celeste out of the car. So, yeah, no escape there. Morgan keeps running. They corner him in the swamp, which, again, I kind of like the appropriateness of Morgan's death, but it's also kind of a boring death.
Yeah, death by
So-
quicksand, pretty much.
Yeah. So basically, they corner him, and Sugar just taunts him, show me how you're a big man now, because he, of course, has run out of bullets. So because he was going to shoot Sugar, but realizes he can't. He's like, I'm going to shoot you right in the heart, and click. 6 shots. God,
Count them when you shoot.
I know we're panicking because zombies, but it's a revolver. You have limited shots. Could have reloaded while you ran, but you didn't. So, she taunts him. She's like, show me what a big man you are. And waves a torch at him. And he just basically runs into the swamp and sinks in and drowns. Which, like I said, if you think about it, so have this white gangster who was trying to bully and push around, a black business owner, a black woman. And he ends up, drowning in the swamp like one of, the slaves that have been cast off.
That's what I thought was a nice gesture.
That's what I thought was very appropriate.
Telling it essentially said, you are not better than them.
Well, you deserve this death, and this is
you deserve this.
You deserve this death. This is a ground of your own making.
I mean,
That's
we
true.
saw a gigantic alligator come up out of that swamp earlier, so we can always hope that what
But he's
actually
also
happens
being
is he gets eaten by a very large alligator.
Well, that's what I was assuming was going to happen. I was a little disappointed when it didn't, but
we could assume it snacks on them later, sure.
I was going to
Because they actually
say,
eat dead, if I recall. Alligator
oh
doesn't
yeah,
drown
they're
you and then eat you later, I believe.
they're opportunists. If they find something that is not rank, they're going to be like, hey, free dinner. Yeah.
So, but you know, I mean, I would have liked to see a more slow, torturous death. Is kind of where I was disappointed. But like I said, I thought it was super appropriate.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, we have just Celeste left, and you know, Sugar is nothing if not thorough. So
Oh,
the zombies have
indeed.
Celeste, and Baron Zombie looks at Sugar and is like, well, first of all, he compliments her on how superbly she has accomplished her end. So one then figures that it was her who planned the Titan's death.
I think is that when he gives her his cane?
Yeah. Well, that's right after.
Okay. All right.
Well, it's right before. Well, he says that they discuss that the pain. Well, yeah, I think he gives a cane, and then they point out you got Celeste left, or it's like kind of around that same point. And she's like, "I owe you payment." I was thinking, you know?
Yeah. Which also makes me wonder when he gives her the cane. I'm like, what cost is associated with that gift?
Oh, she's gonna own Baron forever.
Oh yeah.
I mean, because he even says when you know she's like, well, I was thinking. He's like, oh, the little manner of payment. He's like, yeah, I would prefer you, but I'll accept this for now.
Oh, that's true. I should go back and re-listen to that line just to make sure.
Which is also when, if you couldn't quite figure out what they had agreed to at the beginning, which you're not wrong if you couldn't. Like I said, it was a very open-ended conversation. You have to really be looking to see where the implied thing is that
they did
not her soul.
Yeah, they did not specify the terms.
Yeah,
they left it open, which is a mistake.
Well, I think what it was is where he says it's not souls I'm interested in. He's saying that he's interested in her physically.
Yes. Oh yeah, I'm saying,
but it's not done well. Like I'm
saying,
if you watch it, you're kind of like, so what do you want? You know what I mean?
I'm saying it's on Sugar's part a failure to specify terms.
Yeah.
In solid lines, because that puts her at a disadvantage.
It did, but I mean, the thought was supposed to be that she was agreeing with him.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But at any rate, then she renegotiates the end and says, "How about the white girl?" He's like, "It'll do for now." You
called me a horrible name twice.
Which the appropriateness of that, I mean, let's just think about this. You know, here's a black woman who's getting a white racist woman as payment. You got to admire that.
How the tables turn.
Mm-hmm. The only way it would have been better if she was giving a white man his payment.
True.
But at any rate, so Baron.
Would you like Morgan?
Ew, no.
You'd have been like, ew.
He's too slimy.
So yeah.
In fact, even in my notes, that's what I have written about him. I'm like, Morgan, what a slime ball.
He's slimy.
So basically the movie ends. Baron Zombie carries off Celeste screaming into the swamp, and Sugar looks over at Mama Matrice and says, "Now you can rest." And then it ends, which is not the best ending, honestly. But all in all, you don't care because the movie is just good. I mean, not like art good, but like just entertaining, and you follow it. You don't get bored. And
what I like is she doesn't seem to suffer from her revenge. No. She's not going through any moral quandaries and doubting herself or whatnot. She's very firm in what she wants and what she's going to do to get it, which to me is kind of refreshing.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see her power getting muted or washed out or getting put down.
No. I've just had a thought, and it's making me laugh internally, because all of his flunkies are now zombies and we're around the table with them. There is a scene somewhere where all of those men got up out of the morgue at the police and walked out.
Truth.
And well, I wouldn't say all of them. I'm assuming some of them never made it to the morgue. That's just my thought.
Some of them, I think.
We keep finding these guys. We keep finding these guys. It has to be a rival gang. And
I mean, I know several of them did find. I mean, a couple of them, I'm sure, made it to the morgue, but I'm thinking a couple of them did not make it to the morgue. Like
Pig guy.
I don't know if they ever
I don't
found the
know
one
that
that fell in the pig
there's
pen.
enough pig guy to be there at all, because I know what pigs do, and pigs do not leave man.
No,
Nothing.
no.
Yeah, I think the pig guy was just the guy who had like a little like thing on his face and his eyes are missing. I'm like, no, it'd be much worse than that.
It would be
It'd
so bad.
chunks,
Oh,
little
yeah.
chunks, if anything. Some bone, a tooth.
Probably nothing. Those were very hungry pigs.
tooth.
There was a lot of
Yeah.
them.
There'd be a tooth that got digested. It came out in the
True.
poop.
Yeah,
Some teeth.
that's true.
Nothing. Yeah, pigs, very efficient means of disposing of a body. So I'm told. I've never tried it personally.
I've
ever.
never tried it either, but that was, one of my mom's life lessons when I was a child.
Yeah.
Feeding bodies to pigs.
She said, if you ever need to dispose of a body, go to a pig farm. And I was, Carla, why? Why?
Mother, why are you telling me this?
And I've
Because you
known
just
that
need
since
to
I was a
know.
child.
But yeah, like I'm assuming the snake coffin guy got thrown in the swamp, never to be seen again.
Oh yeah.
Most likely.
You know.
Yeah. There was another little moment where I forget after which death, but at one point it's the scene is at Morgan's place, and you see
the heart.
Celeste. Yes, you see Celeste like open
Was
the
that the
door,
chicken
and
death?
there's I don't think so. I think it was the
It might have been the pig death.
voodoo death, like when the first met it where he was cut. I don't remember.
After
but,
one of the deaths,
yeah.
a really ornate looking urn gets left at Morgan's door.
And I'm just, and she's like, "Oh, this is pretty," and I'm just like, "Oh, I know what's coming. I know it's coming on this one."
They open it, and she's like, "It's a heart."
Yeah, I'm like, beware gifts that are apparently free.
I particularly liked it because it was a steaming heart, even. So,
True.
and they open the lid, and you see steam come off. And I'd say like what they show of the heart is pretty well done. Like I wonder if they didn't use like an animal heart in there.
I was going to say,
I'm sure.
I'm going to guess that was probably like a pig heart.
Yeah, because all you got to do is like
Go to a butcher's.
find a butcher and be like, "Yo, I need one of these," and I don't even think you're gonna get any questions.
Yeah, especially if you're doing a horror movie, you can literally just walk in and be like, "Hey, can I have offal?" and they'll give it to you. So,
yeah.
Sadly, I know this because I had friends who did horror movies. So
And
yeah,
the 70s, people actually,
Yeah.
And again, like it's not even just the 70s, people do eat organs of animals. So
Oh yeah.
yeah.
you could go probably to your local grocery and think, you got a pig heart? Yummy. Yeah.
Well, I swear I've seen beef hearts.
Not hard to get.
I know I've seen tongue.
Oh yeah.
And I was at the Asian market today, and I saw many different parts.
Yeah. Not hard to get a hold of it all.
No.
But yeah. So so let's talk about the makeup. Like considering the low budget, I thought what they did with the zombies was actually pretty good.
Yeah. I
thought it
liked
was really interesting.
Yeah. Like the only time where it came across was really like overt like makeup, like skeleton makeup, was the pig, like the daylight scenes. Like when you see the zombies at the pig pen scene, it's
the light's gonna show more flaws, and the darker lit scenes it blends in a little bit better.
But yeah, normally I don't know, and please somebody correct me. I don't mean to be rude or wrong, but often when you see Black actors being done as zombie makeup, my guess is a lot of white makeup artists, and the tones and stuff they put on the skin are just bad. Like they'll be greenish, and not because they're trying to give them like a sickly hues, because they're just not combining the right colors for the makeup to look correct as a zombie. That's the way to
or it's that different, artist interpretation. What would a zombie look? Because everybody has their own ideas.
Yeah, but I mean, like you will see a difference between how the white zombie makeup looks and how the black zombie makeup looks. Is my point. It's not like
It may not be.
It's not like everybody's getting this weird greenish undertone. You know what I mean? It's like it's very much this, and
like for a lot of places where they're like pumping out zombies, they probably have basically the same mix for everybody, and they're plastering it on faces to make it zombie. They're not looking at skin tones at all.
Yeah.
So they're gonna default toward whitish, probably.
Yeah. We do have to remember most likely the speed at which this movie was probably made.
Well, no, what I'm talking about is in this one they didn't do that.
Oh, okay.
The makeup, the zombie makeup is better in this one, in my opinion. Like you don't see those weird greenish, and it just looks like somebody who's been decaying and their skin is dead, and you know what I mean. It was a better job. Like I said, until you saw like some of the stuff in the daylight scenes, and you can distinctly see makeup. But again, daylight scenes and quick done and low budget film. But in the darker scenes, it looked really good, in my opinion.
I liked what they did with the eyes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I love the weird silvery eye thing that they did.
Yeah.
I like the cobweb touch. I thought that was pretty cool. Thought it was a little weird because they were in a swamp, but I wasn't even picky about it because I just kind of like
messy hair. Although I thought it was interesting because while they did, I know they were coming from a swamp. I'm aware that it was coming from a swamp, but they felt dry, almost mummy-ish. Not like they weren't moist zombies. They were a dry zombie. I'm sorry, I said moist. Trigger warning for all the moist people.
No, it's
now she's gonna keep saying moist for the rest of the recording.
That's what I thought too. They were the dried out dead.
Yes, they were like dried out. So they had like powdery almost skin, which I liked. And then the eyes, and then the like cobwebs and bits of oh my god,
a little bit of like swamp moss hanging off the
moss. Yeah. Spanish moss, bits of Spanish
there
moss
you
and stuff. I couldn't think of Spanish moss. So they felt very like, I know they were coming from a swamp, but they felt dry and like old and icky, which I liked.
Yeah,
I dig it.
I thought it was really well done, honestly. Some of the better makeup. I actually like also how they did Baron Samdi's makeup. So often when they do in the movies, they do the full like skull face, but they really just did like dark around his eyes to make them seem deeper set.
It was a little more subtle. Yeah. And I think it was perfect.
Very well done.
Yeah. And I feel like they whitened his teeth to a degree.
No, he had gold and silver.
I liked it. It made him look
perfect.
very skeletal when he smiled,
which
I liked because they
it
were
helped giving those expressions, because he'd have that smile and you see like kind of shine off the gold and the silver.
You'd see that smile and you're like, oh my god, he's gonna eat him.
Yeah. Seriously though, like if he had bit somebody, I wouldn't have been shocked, and I might have been a little excited.
Yeah, no, the whole time, this is why I loved it so much. You could see the pure enjoyment Baron Samdi was getting off of the kills. He's like, this is love.
Yeah.
He's like, what is she doing here?
And it was fun through each of the kills to spot where he was in the scene.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh, what is it going to be next? Yeah.
Like sometimes he was being passive observer, and then sometimes he was like, I'm the bartender.
Yeah. Exactly. Like sometimes he would be the precursor. Like you'd see him and you knew it was coming. And sometimes like the bartender scene, you didn't see him at all until the guy looked at him and called him out.
Yeah.
And then you're like,
oh,
guess what's coming now?
I really enjoyed Mama Matrice and Baron Samdi in these.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, Mama Matrice gave some good face too. Like towards the end, when she was like, first things with Baron Samdi, she was like, and I love the line at the beginning when she first calls on Baron Samdi, and she's like, he's a wonderful lover.
And Sugar's like, what? Yeah.
Oh, good.
And also it was interesting with her in the beginning when she's like, why'd you come back here to Sugar? And I'm like, oh, is there background we don't know? I mean, beyond the obvious connection. But
I would love to hear the prequel story, you know what I mean? Because that's also when Mama Matrice points, like, you've never been a believer. Like, she's sympathetic to Sugar from the start.
Yeah.
She knows Sugar's in pain, but she's like, why are you here? Why did you come back here? You've never been a believer.
I'm too tired for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and there's a nice little scene where she's like, well, how much do you love him? She's like, I loved him so much. And how much do you want this vengeance? She's like, as much as I loved him, as much as I hate the people that killed him. So,
I thought that was a really well done line.
Yeah. And I'm paraphrasing and not quoting exactly what people really watch this movie. It's worth what, the $4 to rent it on Vudu?
Yeah. I
think it's worth buying. I bought it,
Yeah, I got it for I rented it for $4 on Amazon.
I was gonna say I rented it for $4 on Amazon. So if you have Amazon Prime, you can watch it too, and it is worth it.
Oh yeah,
Amazon, Vudu, any of those. Vudu, VUDU, not Vudu.
Make yourself some New Orleans themed cocktails. Yeah, make a hurricane or
get a zombie
or zombie
killer, whatever.
I also looked up about 700 that were called zombie blah or Voodoo blah blah blah, Voodoo Queen, Voodoo something else. There were a whole bunch.
Or movies.
Drinks. Drink.
Okay, just checking.
I was playing in drinks, and I'm like, darn it! Every single one of these, I would have to go out and shop for something. Time.
Yeah,
With vodka.
That was my problem. So it's a wine spritzer tonight.
Which, hey, if you guys watch this and you decide you want to do a zombie themed cocktail hour and talk about the movie yourselves with us, then you can tell us that you want to do that and we will set that up.
We will happily have our little cocktail hour.
Absolutely. And happily talk more about this film because I really love it.
Yeah. I did not expect to like it as much as I did. I'm going to say, yeah.
I was worried you guys would hate it and be like, Jenny, what did you make us watch? I loved it so much.
Oh, no, it was fun. And like I said, because the female character was a strong, powerful character. You got to see her.
Oh, and by the way,
revenge.
Strong female character who's powerful, who didn't have to get raped first to become powerful, which, by the way, is a nice twist.
Yes.
I don't know if you read a lot of sci-fi, fantasy, horror. Well, watch a lot of horror movies. For the woman to get her revenge kill on, she must be brutally raped first.
Yeah,
it's such a lame trope. It's a lame storytelling. And if that's your, this is how we show that she suffered, you lack imagination.
Trust me, we suffer enough without that.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, I mean, we still have the trope of they kill her man, but it's a better trope, in my opinion, than the rape.
And I feel like it's a better trope because they did make her such a strong character and they gave her such a strong backstory.
She's strong to begin with. It wasn't like she became strong because they killed her man. She was strong. They killed her man and they fucking paid a price.
Yeah. and you get the feeling too that their relationship was very much a meeting of equals.
Equals, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, because let's put it this way: it's the 70s. He willed her club to him, or he willed her club to her. Which, even the Gangster Morgan is like,
what?
That's interesting that a guy like that would will his club to you. Which why is that?
Right. Sexist? Why? Oh, it's
misogynist and racist. Why is that shocking?
Well, and I wonder if, and this may be my own damaged perception or ill-informed perception, but I always feel like Black women have a stronger position within their culture than we do in ours.
I can't and won't speak to that.
I have no idea if my perception is
accurate,
informed, or what, but or if I'm being subjected to, well, I must think this because of media representations. Yeah. But
yeah.
I mean, I will speak to the fact that whatever they deal with within sexual relationships, gender relationships, let me be more specific, not heteronormative, they also have the additional burden of color,
mm-hmm.
Because the way people treat color, not because color is a problem, just to be clear, I think it's lovely. Yeah. But, the actual racism, the systemic racism, then whatever misogyny they have to deal with within, their own society.
Truth.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's all stuff that I obviously have no experience with other than friends and talking to them and hearing their issues, but I won't speak to their issues because it's theirs. So.
Right. Yeah, I love this movie. All the characters were so good looking. Even Mama Matrice was gorgeous older lady. I'm like,
yeah,
everyone is so good. Except the gangsters, the male gangsters.
Except the white men. They're ugly.
Yeah, they're ugly as fuck.
Horrible.
Not one attractive white man in the entire movie.
Nope. No. All the white
people were
really not good looking, but everybody else was really good looking.
Stunning, and then you have these ugly
because even Fabulous was good looking, and he just
Fabulous was fabulous. I thought it was the most appropriate name.
I
like
him. That is very fabulous. Colorful outfits.
I mean, they were in the 70s you think the leisure suit. I'm not going to say the leisure suit wasn't there, but it was a better rendition of it. Is that what I can say?
He seemed more disco.
Yeah.
No,
but it was so good. So good.
Oh yeah.
Actually, Langston's suit in the beginting too, by the way, was also a fabulous material looking thing. It was like a weird metallic plaid thing going on.
I thought it was sort of weird brownish color.
Well, it was just it was like a purplish, I think, or maroonish. I don't remember. But it like
Yeah,
it
it's
like the crisscross plaid stripes, not like
it
plaid like,
did. You're right. You're right.
but it was metallic thread. And it was kind of subtle and really just like
It was a very 70s suit, but he pulled it off really, really well.
I mean, all of it was very.
I mean,
70s,
well, yeah.
but yeah, like I said, like I'm more used to the really bad pastel 70s leisure suits. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And these were really good 70s suits.
No, absolutely. I highly recommend all of those outfits.
But yeah, Fabulous's opening outfit was just fascinating to me because it was like a onesie suit, kind of. I don't know how else to explain it, and it should have looked awful. It really should have, but it made you want to try an outfit on like that. That looks really good.
He had the energy to pull it off, which I think is a good testament to the actor.
Oh yeah,
because now that I know he's Mac, I'm like, dude with the cardigan.
Exactly. That's exactly. You're like I think that's why it threw me so much in the beginning, because you just, Mac from Night Court was just this very 80s plaid cardigan tie.
Yeah.
You see the character Fabulous and you're like,
what? Yeah, I want to go back and look up and see what else the guy who played Langston was in.
He was in a lot of stuff in the 70s and 80s, and I think still.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was the one who was also in like Dukes of Hazzard series and stuff like that.
I thought that was Samedi.
It was Samedi. Yeah, he was the sheriff in the Dukes of Hazzard. I was like, oh, I bet that was racist.
As fuck. Yeah.
Just saying. Unfortunate, but
he was in Sisters. So this Richard Lawson is who played Valentine. Oh no, Langston. We're looking at Langston, not Valentine. Sorry, I got confused.
Mm-hmm.
My apologies.
Also, I just have to mention quality mustaches on
her.
Very much so, yeah.
Woo!
Langston was Larry D. Johnson. Sorry. And he actually wasn't in that much. He was in Sugar Hill and Street Tales Terror, according to Google. IMDb probably has more though, because Google's kind of weak.
Not much. Actor too.
Yeah, just two. I guess it was just those two. So Sugar Hill and Street Tales of Terror, which was a 2004 movie, which I vaguely remember.
Odd. Now I want to look him up. Larry D. Johnson. Now I'm Googling.
Interesting.
Yeah,
they don't even show a picture of him on Google, which is a shame because he's a lovely looking man.
I thought they did a very good job of casting on this film.
Yeah, I enjoyed like so many great actors.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just disappeared.
They did very well. I wouldn't say they did very well with what they have, but I was really impressed with the dialogue in the film, especially Sugar and either of her love interests. Really.
There were some places though it didn't quite come off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there was a lot of good dialogue, but then like a lot of the monologue scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Like the first kill scene where she was like, "You killed my man," it just came off. Probably because it was a white person writing the lines, would be my guess, and it just came off.
Who knows?
Like in another podcast I did, we talked about Breaking, and there was a point where you could tell they were trying to put in street lingo, and like they would use the word fresh a lot, but when they would say fresh, it would come off as just very forced. And that is kind of like what happened on some of the lines here at Sugar Hills. They would come off as kind of forced. Honk was another word that I was like, I recall honky a lot.
Yeah.
And hunky, but honk was not a term I was familiar with. But again, I was born in 1975, so this movie predates me just slightly. So maybe honk was very common. Or maybe it was more common in the South than, up in Youngstown. But like I said, in Youngstown, it was hunky and honky. And Youngstown has a very fascinating lexicon. I suggest you do repeat most of it. So, yeah. But yeah, so I'm just going to say again, watch the movie. I think that everybody will enjoy this movie. I can't, like I said, I was leery because I thought maybe I was just being weird about how much I like this movie. But now that I have, two other people's opinion about, yes, this is an awesome movie, I feel more confident saying, watch this movie, you will like it.
Yes, if you love voodoo and revenge stories with strong female characters, this is perfect for you.
And just be wowed by the expressions. I'm like, I can't explain how great the faces were. They just do such an amazing job of emoting just through expression that,
Sugar's smile when she's talking with Morgan, I'm like, ooh, oh, that's
or even better, her face when Celeste comes to confront her in Club Haiti. She's like, oh, here's this bitch. It is the most perfect face. She's like, yeah, I'm ready for this. So yeah, watch this movie. Watch Horror Noir, by the way. It's, like I said, a really excellent documentary, and it has so many great movie suggestions. Like I don't know that I would have ever looked into Sugar Hill had I not watched Horror Noir, and that would have been a huge loss. So watch that documentary for sure.
I will definitely check it out because it sounds really interesting. Yeah.
When was it made? The Horror Noir?
2019.
Okay, all right. I probably have not watched it then because I've seen some other horror anthologies or
it's not an anthology.
Documentary. I misspoke. Horror documentaries that were interesting, but I think those were older ones.
Yeah, no, this one's really great. Like I said, I know it's on Shudder. Shudder, I believe, produced it. I don't know if you can rent it anywhere else, but maybe get a free trial of Shudder or AMC Plus, which includes Shudder. And
I find a friend who has it and go over, hang out and drink. And
I mean, you could do that because obviously I have it, so you know where I live.
I'll pre-make a batch of painkillers.
There we go.
Bring those in for her.
Maybe we all could be bad. We could all be here, then live stream us watching it while drinking painkillers and zombies. Very fascinating. We might end up getting FCC violations. I'm down.
Sure.
I'm in.
Great. No. Betsy, Rebecca, any more thoughts on it?
I mean, nothing more than I've really said. Like my main thing is I did not expect to enjoy this movie as much as I did. I was really pleased overall I liked the characters, the ones that were given more depth than just flunky number 1, flunky number 2, that kind of thing. I liked in a lot of places. I really enjoyed dialogue, and I enjoyed like what she said and what she didn't say and the subtext behind it. And I just thought it all meshed very well.
Betsy?
I agree. There were a lot of places where I thought the dialogue was super, super snappy. I really loved the costumes, every single one of them. I want to grow up to be Mama Matrice, and that's not possible, so I'm a little sad about it.
Same.
Yeah, I think I have in my notes somewhere that I'm like, I want to be like her when I'm old.
I mean, seriously.
Life goals. Let's retire down to the swamps and the mansion in New Orleans and dress like old Victorian women.
Well, she is the Bog Witch.
I know, it's so good.
It's something we should all strive for.
It's always been a goal of mine.
Bog Witch. Obviously. Yeah, I just really enjoyed it. It was really well done. For being considered a blaxploitation film, it didn't feel as exploitive, yeah, as some of them do. It really didn't, for whatever reason. And I know it still had all of the swears and horrible white people, but it just didn't feel as, I don't know, maybe just as exploitive as some of them are. So as far as that goes, I thought it was really good. It was pretty empowering. I liked how they handled the voodoo. From just what I know of the religion, it felt like they were handling it very well and very respectfully. They didn't do crazy stuff except for at the beginning. And we didn't mention it, but the soundtrack jams, the song for this.
Supernatural Voodoo Woman. Oh my God, I love that song so much. By the Originals, look it up.
Yeah.
It's going to stick in your head forever and haunt you in a good way. Yes, thank you for bringing that up, Betsy. I forgot about how much I love that.
I didn't think about the soundtrack.
That song, man, it was like, this started with it and I was like dancing. I'm like, well, I think I'm gonna like it. all right, and then of course it goes into the actual film, but I was like, the song and what you're seeing, because the opening, get past the opening. It's very stereotypy, but it's literally a show. So just get past that and you get into the good stuff.
Yep.
I just really enjoyed it. I was honestly, I went into it with literally no expectations whatsoever, and it far exceeded them. In fact, I've been telling people, like, have you seen this?
Yeah, that's something. Yeah, I didn't have expectations when I started it, and so I think in that case, I was very pleasantly surprised.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I will
Yeah,
watch this again.
I agree, because when I so it caught my interest when they were discussing it in horror noir, because I'm like, a 1970s black zombie movie? How did I not see this? And I didn't have high expectations because 1970s. I mean,
Yeah,
not to be rude, but a lot of 70s horror is just
pretty bad.
horrifying in a different way. Not in the I'm horrified. So I was like, this should probably be campy and crazy, and it wasn't really. You know what I mean? Like,
I was gonna say there was some places of camp,
but it was just
less campy and more just like fun.
Yeah, it was just good. I don't know how to explain it. Like, it should have been more cheesy feeling than it is. It just doesn't. It's so.
I mean, because I was expecting a lot more.
Yeah, like, I think maybe it's because they didn't go for like the gore and the blood or something like that. I don't know, but it doesn't come off as campy and cheesy. It just comes off as a good story, really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like back to what Betsy said. The zombies do look like old, dried out corpses, and I think that gives it a little bit of a realism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the strong presence of the actors in the movie too is just another thing where it's just amazing. You know, like I said, like I know I keep saying, but their facial expression is such an amazing. When you can say so much with just a look, and they do consistently.
That was one of the fun parts of the film.
Parts
of the film. For someone who enjoys that kind of thing, or for somebody who regularly speaks with their face. Oh, I
mean, I do it accidentally. These people do it purposely.
Well, that's I'm not responsible for what my face says out loud.
Yeah, like if you're like, show me anger, I'd be like, her? You know, if I am angry, you can clearly see it though. But you know, I mean, these people knew how to just turn it on, and so good.
I'm wondering how much of the script was actually good and how much of it was just them selling it so well. They delivered the lines well. They sold it with their facial expressions. Like, they'd say something that on paper is kind of ridiculous if you write it down, but then they say it and you're like, oh, that hurts when you say it like
yeah.
Ow.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah. I mean, well acted all, because even Morgan had his moments where he had like little facial expression things where I'm like he was selling that he was the bad guy. You knew he was the bad guy from minute one, even though he was trying to be charming. It was like the worst kind of charming.
You know what? Actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the things I meant to mention was that Morgan, you get the distinct impression that this guy was not your upper class gangster. Like, this guy was probably just a little street thug. Just because the way the actor pulled it off, like he himself had no class, and that's pretty much why he has Celeste the street hoe as his woman, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. This is somebody who worked his way up from being like the heavy to being the boss, and he still has all of the edges still there, and he's trying real hard to play charming, and it's just not working. Like,
he doesn't have it. He doesn't have it in him.
Yeah, which, I mean, great acting by that guy's part. What was his name? Richard Query. I keep forgetting now. I just keep thinking Baron Yorba or Count Yorga. Sorry.
I mean, I will call him
Robert Query. Sorry.
Yeah, it was really well acted. Because for a character that could have been just like nothing, he actually gave it quite a bit of like, oh, okay, all right.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I'm just consistently, the more we talk about it, the more I'm like, I really like this film.
Yeah.
Well, I guess since we can keep going on forever and people are probably bored about us saying how much we like this film, again, I'm going to, reiterate, watch the movie, watch Horror Noir, and talk to us. Tell us if you want to like get in a little cocktail hour virtually with us and discuss what your thoughts were on it. Give us feedback, write us. Again, we never mean to say anything rude, offensive, or mean or anything that's insensitive. So if we have, please let us know and we will correct that in the future.
Yes.
And you probably won't see this until much later, but we're actually recording this on the 18th. So happy Juneteenth, and yay that it's now a federal holiday. And I'd like to say it's not enough, and it doesn't solve any problems.
It's not. It's not.
But it's something, and that needs to be so much more. But happy Juneteenth.